You've written a really great book on boundaries that I've
Mhm.
actually had quite a few people tell me about, and a couple of friends even share with me. And I just want to know, like, I was so interested that, you on the one side have this entire world of Whole30. I mean, you've got books and programs and foods and all these things. And then you have this book that you've written on boundaries. Like, how did that happen? And
I
tell
know.
me about that. So
Okay, they're
interesting.
they're so closely related though. They are
Yes.
so closely related because in the early days of Whole30, I
Hmm.
quickly discovered that people really struggle to say no. And in the days of Whole30, it was saying no to the break room pizza or the glass of wine at happy hour or the cake at the birthday party. I don't have
Hmm.
a hard time saying no to that, probably because of my personality and my experience in recovery, but people did, and they needed the
Sure.
language and they needed the permission to say, no, I'm doing this 30-day self experiment with my diet. And, no, thank you. I'm not drinking right now. No, I don't need any cake. I'm perfectly
Right.
happy with what I have.
Right.
And so once people figured out that I was really good at helping them say no to those kinds of things, then they
Hmm.
started coming to me saying, okay, but how do I say no to my mother-in-law who's always dropping by without calling? And how do I say no to the coworker who's always gossiping, or my
Hmm.
boss who's always texting me after hours, or the neighbor who always wants me to babysit her kids for free? So
Hmm.
this really heated up during the pandemic too. In early 2020, especially
Mm.
women, especially moms, all of our lives just bled together, right? Work and
Right.
school and kids and
For
home and
sure.
self-care and so people needed more than ever the words to be able to protect their own capacity, their mental health, their finances, their energy.
Hmm.
So the idea for the book of boundaries really came from all of the work that I had already been doing within the Whole30 community, helping people set and hold boundaries around food and drink, and then just really naturally expanded into those other areas.
Wow. I love that. I mean, it's all one and the same, right? I mean, if you can set boundaries, well, it's not always one and the same where if you can set boundaries in one area of your life that you're able to do that in other areas. That's definitely not true. But it all comes from sort of the same mindset of, why can't you apply the principles of setting boundaries around what you're doing for your health to other aspects of your life? I think that's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Some people do find boundaries with family members easier than boundaries at work or vice versa. It doesn't
Hmm.
mean that you're going to be good at every single area, but the common tenet is my needs matter, my comfort
Yeah.
matters, my feelings matter just as much as anybody else's, and
Hmm.
I have to be the one to set the limits to protect my time and energy and mental health and physical space because if I don't, nobody else is going to. And I deserve that. I
Hmm.
deserve that protection. And once I
Hmm.
think you have that central kind of foundation, then you can start to see all of the areas in which other people are going to want to take as much as you are willing
Right.
to give. And it will be up to you to say,
Right.
no, this is the line. This is where, I am comfortable. And if you can meet me in this limit, then our relationship can feel really warm and respectful and it can feel good for both
Hmm.
of us.
And so what are like maybe one or two nuggets you can give everybody as we're talking on this podcast? I always like to, give some really actionable things that people could try even today. And
Yes.
while we're not going to tell you that, we're going to give you all the things for Whole30, you guys will have the links for all of that in the show notes. So if you want to check out the program and get started, you absolutely can. But what are some, thoughts you have around things that people could do for boundaries to help them, especially when it comes to their health or their mother-in-law or whoever,
Yeah.
what would you
I
say?
think one of the most important things you can do is to employ a pause before you automatically say
Mm,
yes to anything. Don't automatically agree to anything. Do you want another glass of wine? Come back to me in a few minutes. Let me think about it. Can
exactly.
we come visit for the weekend? Oh, I better check and see what our plans are. I'll let you know tomorrow. The pause can be a minute, it can be a couple hours, it can be a
Mhm.
few days. But if you employ that pause, that gives you the time and the space to check in with yourself and ask
Yes.
yourself, what do I want? What do I need? How are my feelings? How is my comfort in this
Mhm.
situation? Instead of automatically just responding to other people's demands. If you
Yep.
can just do that one thing, I think that will go so far in helping you
Mhm.
immediately regain some of your time and energy, mental health, and capacity.
I love that. I just did a podcast episode with my good friend, Dr. Thanmeet Sethi, who is another integrative doc. We were actually talking about transitions and sort of how do you deal with change and transitions in life. And the big aha we had was the pause. It's exactly the same thing, is that when you're going through a transition, take that pause. So I think this pause is a recurring theme, everybody who's listening, that I really hope that you will really think about how you can use the pause in your life to support your health and support your choices. So whether it's what Melissa's talking about with boundaries, or it was what we talked about a few weeks ago on the podcast with transitions, let's start thinking about how the pause can help us and support our health. So
I
I
like
love
it
that.
when
Thank
the
you for that.
universe is, like, not subtle like that, right? When,
I know.
the universe just sends you, like, the message and the message, and finally you're like, "Okay, alright, this is the
Yeah.
thing I need to do." I like it. It's the
Yeah,
pause.
exactly. I love it. I love it.